Right, you're
Yeah,
set.
so if anybody does not want to be videoed, you will want to go down and click the stop video. I'm pointing because it's on the computer. It's down here. I think on an iPad, it's up there. So you'll want to click that off if you don't want to be recorded. All right.
So it makes you bigger on the screen. That's why I don't want to be recorded, because I can see better on my little iPad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's good to know. I didn't know that. Who's the disembodied voice is this?
This is Sue Hussey.
Oh, Sue. Okay, thanks, Sue. So if you didn't catch that, what Sue said is if you take your video off, you get a bigger screen with me on it. So if you need like a little bit more visual, you can do that. Okay. So Debbie, are we ready to go?
Yes, I'm going to mute everybody. Okay. You're all set.
Okay. All right. And then I'll unmute myself once you do that. Thank you so much. Okay, and here we are. So I'm going to get over to my seat. Oh, sorry, I'm going to put this on a little different view. There we go. Now I can see everybody, which is what I wanted to do. All right, so good morning, everybody. So come right up to the front edge of your chair. We're going to get started here this morning with a little bit of breathing practice. So if you can sit with your feet below your knees, if that doesn't work for you, if you need to have your foot a little forward or a little backward, go ahead and do that. So you just want to be comfortable with as much of the bottoms of your feet on the floor as possible. In other words, you don't want to be sitting with your legs crossed or have one leg out to the side. So just try and get as much of the sole of your foot on the floor as you can. And then let your hands rest on your lap or on your knees. And feel your sitting bones. So make sure you can feel your sitting bones on the chair, nice and even. Notice if you're leaning to one side or the other, or if you can kind of press down evenly into your sitting bones. And then notice where your body is in space. Are you leaning forward a little bit? Are you leaning back a little bit? And you might just kind of rock forward and back slightly just to see where you are in that kind of vertical plane, right? So oftentimes, I will say this, oftentimes we sit forward like this. Let me show you sideways. So we tend to sit a little bit forward. We tend to stand a little bit forward as well. It's almost like we want to get there before we actually arrive. So it might feel a little strange to sit back a bit. What I always like to do is if I sit back, little bit at a time until I feel my belly just start to activate a little bit. You're not like really holding your belly, but there's just that little slight activation there. That's about where you want to be. Maybe just a stitch forward of that. So again, it might feel a little strange, especially if you're someone who tends to sit a little bit farther forward in your seat. Okay, now relax your shoulders and your arms, relax your jaw and your neck, and notice your breath. And you can close your eyes if that feels comfortable. If you'd rather have your eyes open, you can drop your gaze down at the floor. And if it's possible this morning to breathe in and out through your nose, I'm going to invite you to do that. If you're having some difficulty breathing, you can maybe breathe in through your nose and out through pursed lips as if you were blowing out a candle. So that can work as well. And notice the way air is moving in and out. Is it fast or slow? Is your breath shallow or deep this morning? And notice the temperature of the air as you inhale and exhale. Notice where you feel movement in your body, where you expand and contract, and when you expand and contract. So, for instance, do you feel your body expanding when you breathe in, or do you feel it contracting when you breathe in? And if you feel your body contracting when you breathe in, see if you can soften and relax around the inhalations and allow yourself to expand. So if you think about the breath, like the breath moving into your body, it's like air moving into a balloon. And when you breathe in, you want the body to expand like a balloon that's being blown up. When you exhale, you want the body to gently contract like a balloon that's letting the air out. And now start to deepen your breathing. So as you inhale, pull the air in a little bit more deeply. See if you can get it all the way down into your belly. So when you breathe in, your belly expands like a balloon. And when you breathe out, engage your belly muscles. Pull your navel in toward your spine. That'll help to press out any residual air that's in the bottom of the lungs. So we're softening and breathing in and engaging as we breathe out. Breathing in and breathing out. It's something that we do every moment of every day, and we're not even aware of it. And right now, in this moment, we're drawing our complete attention, or as much of our attention as we can muster. We're drawing our attention to the breath. Now, this doesn't mean that we're not having thoughts, or there might be some other things distracting us. Try not to let anything distract you visually. So if you have your eyes open and you find yourself looking at your watch or looking around, see if you can close your eyes and just come back to this present moment. Breathing in deeply through your rib cage all the way into your belly. Breathing out completely as you pull your navel in toward your spine. Let each successive breath get longer, slower, and deeper. Slowing your breath and deepening your breath is the most efficient way to calm your nervous system. It's the most efficient way to work with anxiety, to work with sort of that hyperactivity or that sort of bouncing around in your mind. It's also a wonderful way to deal with pain. So as nonsensical as that may seem, breathing in and breathing out helps you to respond to stimuli better than just react to stimuli. And a lot of times, especially when we have chronic pain, we tend to react to any little thing in the body. So the breath just helps us respond a little bit better. When we respond, we're in a little bit more control. And that in turn feeds our nervous system to become calmer and calmer. So it's a kind of a self-perpetuating thing. And it all starts simply by noticing the breath, breathing deeply in and out, allowing the thoughts to happen, allowing those distractions to maybe momentarily take your attention, but then just gently redirecting your focus back to your breath. Now, if it's comfortable this morning to create a little restriction at the back of your throat, you can do that and allow the air to flow in and out and hear the sound that the breath makes. Let's take 2 more really full, deep breaths in and out together. And 1 more. And now resume your natural breath. So forget about making the breath longer, slower, deeper. Just go back to your natural rhythm, your natural breath. And keep noticing though. So are you able to notice that your breath is naturally a little bit slower now? Maybe there's a depth to it that wasn't there when we initially sat down and observed the breath. So just a few minutes of slow, conscious breathing can change your fundamental breathing. So the breathing that goes on without your awareness. And this is one of the ways that breath has lasting change on our nervous systems. So if your eyes are closed, you can let them slowly drift open. You can raise your hands from your lap, extend your arms out in front, round through your spine, press out through the heels of your hands, and just really get a good stretch through that upper back. Breathe in, breathe out. With your next inhalation, sweep your arms down, keep the palms facing back, and then bring the arms back behind you as far as you can and press your chest forward. Lift your chin slightly and arch your back. Breathing in, breathing out here. So kind of like the lady on the prow of a ship, right? So got this nice back bend. And then with your next exhalation, we're going to sweep the arms forward, round through your spine, bring your chin to your chest, press out through your hands, pull your belly in, breathe out. Next inhalation, we're going to sweep the arms back. We're going to arch the spine, draw the chin up just slightly, press the chest forward, lift those arms up behind you so your palms are facing away from you. We're going to do this one more time in both directions. So next exhale, we're going to round through the spine, bring the arms forward, press out through the heels of the hands. You can kind of lean back a little bit, kind of hollowing out your belly. And then next inhalation, sweep the arms back. Palms are out behind you. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Get a nice stretch through the chest. And then come back to your natural position and start to roll your shoulders. So we're rolling the shoulders up and around, and then roll the left shoulder only. Good. And then roll the right shoulder only, and notice some of you are going forward, some of you are going backwards, and it doesn't matter. Let's go back to that left shoulder and switch directions. So if you were going backwards, now go forwards. If you were going forward, go backward. And same thing on the right. So let the left shoulder relax, and we're just rolling that right shoulder in the opposite direction. Good. And then take the hands, once again, lift them up. We're going to squeeze and extend the fingers. Breathing in and breathing out, and noticing how those little joints in your fingers are this morning. Sometimes with a more humid air, for some of us, the joints get a little cranky. For others, the humid air actually makes the joints feel a little bit better. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And then take the palms of your hands together and have the palms right down to the heel of your hand. Make sure you can get the heels of your hands together, and keep the heels of your hands together as you bring your hands down as low as they'll go. Don't let your shoulders come up to your ears, so drop them down. So we're just going as low as we can go. And then when you get your hands as low as you can get them, see if you can lift your elbows without bringing the heels of your hands apart. And as you're doing this, notice your breath. Keep breathing in and breathing out. Good, and then let's slowly extend the arms up overhead. And as you do, see if you can get your elbows really close together as the arms come up. Breathe in, breathe out. Keep bringing those elbows as close together as you can. And then slowly come down. We're going to keep the heels of the hands together. So we're going to do this a few times, and we're just going to go back and forth, nice and easy and gentle. So when the arms come down, keep the heels of the hands together and bring the hands down as far as they'll go. And when the arms come up, keep the palms together and see if you can get those elbows close. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's do this just a few more times. And last time, we're going to go up and down. And then release your hands. Let's circle at the wrists. And again, just notice how you're circling. Are your hands going in the same direction? Are they going in different directions? and then reverse. So whatever way they were going before. And then let's see, can we take the right hand and circle it in one direction? Doesn't matter which. And take the left hand and circle it in the opposite direction. I don't think I have that right. I'm gonna start over again. Maybe, maybe not. And then reverse that. That's a little tricky to do. All right, and then we'll kind of release that, shake out the hands and arms a little bit here. Okay, let's do a little bit of work for the feet. So we're gonna go right from the hands to the feet today. We're gonna extend that right leg, have the heel on the floor, and squeeze and extend the toes. So squeezing and extending toes does the same thing that for the feet that we just did for the hands, which is it works those nice little joints, gets a little space in between the joints so that any kind of movement feels a little bit easier. And then we're going to start to point and flex the foot, and that movement comes from the ankle. Good. And then we'll start to circle at the ankle. Good, and then let's reverse direction of those circles. Now you can do this with your heel on the floor, especially if you're having some issues with your knee or your hip on that side, or maybe your leg doesn't feel quite so strong this morning. All right, and then we're just gonna bend that knee, bring the foot to the floor, extend the left leg, have your heel on the floor, and squeeze and extend the toes. So squeezing and extending toes, breathing in and breathing out. So notice if this foot works a little different than the other one. Quite often, we notice subtle differences when we do these things. And then we'll start to circle at the ankle here on this side. Again, you can do this with the heel on the floor, or you can do it with the heel lifted. If you have your heel lifted, notice if that's making your spine round a little bit, so you want to sit up as tall as you can. And then you're going to reverse direction. Great, and then we're just going to bend that knee and bring that foot to the floor. Okay, so we're going to start with the feet kind of next to each other. If you look down at your feet, your left foot and your right foot should be on the same plane there, right? So you don't want to have them touching each other, give them a little bit of space. And make sure you're right up on the front edge of your chair. Keep your spine nice and tall. So if you're leaning forward, you can lean back just a slight bit. Engage your belly muscles a little here. So once again, we don't want to have the belly so engaged that it makes it difficult to breathe, but we want to just feel a little bit of engagement in those belly muscles. You can rest your hands on your thighs, or you can have your hands kind of on the chair alongside your hips. I'm going to go with the hands alongside option this morning. And what we're going to do is we're just going to straighten and then bend one leg at a time. So starting with the right, straighten that knee, and then slowly place it back down. Nice and slow. So left side and slow. So the slower you go, the more you're working the muscles here in your thigh, quadriceps muscles, right? When you straighten that leg, give the muscles up here an extra little squeeze and pull your toes toward your shin. And then keep that engagement of the toes toward the shin as you lower the foot back down. So breathing in and breathing out. So it's a little bit like, well, it's sort of a prelude to marching in place, right? So we're extending and bending. Great. Just a couple more on each side. Notice if it's making you shift your position on your chair. See if you can stay nice and stable in your torso, right? So you're not leaning to one side or the other. You're not coming forward or backwards. So my couple this morning is probably like 5, so I apologize for that. Let this be our last one. Okay, now just kind of pausing for a moment. Look down. Once again, your feet, your toes should kind of be on the same plane down there. Knees are bent. If you need to have one knee a little less bent or a little the foot a little farther out, go right ahead and do that. Having your hands alongside your hips this time might be really helpful for keeping your spine up. So what we're going to do this time now is we're going to kind of march in place with the lifting the feet, but keeping the knee bent. So lift the right and then lift the left, and try not to lean to one side or the other as you're lifting. So you want to keep your body upright, right? You can also have your hands on your thighs, or you can have your hands in front. sometimes that's a little helpful to have your hands in front. You can do one fist in front of the other. I tend to like to have my hands alongside the chair just so that keeps me honest in my spine. That keeps my spine in integrity, right? Not that I would be dishonest about it, but sometimes I might round forward and not even know that that's happening. And so with my hands there, it kind of keeps that check and balance. So we're just lifting and lowering, a little bit of marching in place. Inhale and exhale. Good. Just a couple more of these. Again, really strengthening those thighs, hip flexor muscles. So we're getting nice and strong there too. So how about 2 more on each side? So here's 1 right and 2 right. Great. Okay, let's take a moment here. Relax your hands. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in and let that out with a sigh. Take a moment just to check in. Notice your arms and legs. Notice your hips, your back, your belly. We've just done a little bit of work here for those thigh muscles, and we're going to continue to work that and also to challenge ourselves a little bit. So opening your eyes once again. So we're going to go back to those leg extensions that we were doing. So straightening and then bending one knee and then the other, but we're going to add a little complication to it this time, or a little bit more challenge to it this time. So when you take, you can take the hands, let's take the hands up, say off the lap, and the elbows are bent. When you extend your right leg, you're going to take your left arm forward and pull your right arm back. So if you make like a little fist and pull back on that right side and push forward with the left, so your palm is kind of facing away. Now the toes of your right foot are lifted up toward the ceiling. And then we're going to slowly bring that back down, and we're going to go to the other side, right? So we're lifting the right leg and extending the left arm, and then we're lifting the left leg, not the left egg, but the left leg, and we're extending that right arm, right? So breathe in and breathe out, and you'll feel maybe just a very slight twist in that upper back. That's where we want to get this, right? So a couple more. So we're moving along here, breathing in and breathing out. Let's see if we can get this to be a nice smooth movement. So sort of like riding a bicycle, you know how when you are rotating on that, rotating the pedals, it's a nice smooth movement around. Same thing here, it's a nice smooth movement from side to side. Just a couple more of these. Breathing in and breathing out. How about last one on each side? So right and left and done. Whew. Let's relax and let the hands rest on the lap. Close your eyes. Take a breath in, let it out with a sigh. And once again, notice your body. Notice your hands and feet, your arms and legs. Notice your torso. All right, and then allow your eyes to open. Good, so we're gonna go back now to the marching in place, right? So if you remember, we're just kind of lifting one leg and then the other leg, right? And we're gonna add arms to this as well. So if we start with the arms kind of in this lifted, the hands lifted position, but the arms are kind of relaxed. As we raise the right leg, we're gonna raise the left arm. And then as we raise the left leg, we're gonna raise the right arm. So nice and slow, raising the right leg and the left arm and then bringing that down, and then going to the left leg and the right arm and down. Breathing in and breathing out at whatever pace feels comfortable. So once you get the hang of this, try not to go too fast, because when we go fast, we actually, we're relying on momentum, and we're trying to get the brain to just sort of gloss through this. And the whole point of this is to confuse the brain a little bit, because this is kind of an odd movement. It's not one that we're used to doing too regularly. So it requires the brain to kind of stay present. It requires the mind to stay present, rather. So we can't really think about too many other things. So we're breathing in and breathing out. And then see if you can get this to be a really smooth movement. Again, kind of like a bicycle, right? So when you're riding the bicycle and your feet are on the pedals and you're kind of rotating around, it's that same kind of feeling. It's just a gliding kind of movement. And you don't have to lift your arm really high. If you've got limited range and your arm only goes slightly higher, then that's okay too. So let's do just a couple more on each side. This can be pretty challenging. If you're having any difficulty breathing doing this, just release the arms and do just the legs. Last one on each side. Whew. Okay, and then you can let your hands rest on your lap. Once again, close your eyes, take a breath in, let it out with a sigh. Notice your breath. So I'm going to ask you to call your awareness to the rate and rhythm of your breath. Now, it might be a little faster right now. You might notice that your heart rate is a little bit elevated because what we were doing had a bit of an aerobic kind of flavor to it, right? So raising and lowering the arms and legs, that starts to pump the blood a little bit more. So the heart can beat a little bit faster, the breath can be a little bit faster. And what we're going to do now is we're going to purposefully, intentionally slow the breathing down. So either with your eyes open or closed, returning your attention to your breath. See if you can deepen and slow the breath. We're going to do this over several breaths. So this isn't going to be a fast kind of reset. This is going to be a nice slow reset, a nice slow return to normal. Notice if you're leaning forward in your seat, you might want to lean back a little bit. Notice if you're clenching your hands or your jaw, your neck or your back. So that movement series that we just did was pretty demanding on the physical body. And now we're sliding right into a position where we're not doing anything. So this is incredibly relaxing to the body. Two more really slow, deep breaths in and out. And notice how your heart rate has come down, how your breathing rate has come down. Good, and then let your eyes gently open. Excellent. We're going to take the arms, press them forward, round through your back, round through your spine. Like you could bring your chin down to your navel. Breathe in and breathe out. And then sweep the arms down. Bring the palms behind you. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. So we're arching the back. Really arch that lower back as well. And we're going to go forward and back a few times. So this is the first movement that we did this morning, and we're going to continue to do this. So breathing in and breathing out, really gently moving the arms. If your arms don't feel comfortable moving really far forward or really far back, that's okay. Just really focus on the spine. So I'm going to do a limited movement here on the arms so that you can see. And the movement is happening all in my spine, right? I'm trying not to hyperextend at my neck, like trying not to look way up. So I just want to keep my neck very slightly lengthened when I come forward. And I can really kind of bring my chin right down to my chest as I round through the spine. So one more time in each direction. And then coming back to sort of that neutral position. Good. Okay. So let's scoot over to the right side of the chair. And as you scoot over to the right side of your chair, you're going to take your right foot and heel, toes and heel, sorry, that's all part of the foot. And we're going to walk that leg out as far as it will go. Now with the leg out as far as it will go, the tendency is for the body from the hips or the waist to turn in the direction of that right leg. What I really want to focus on is keeping my body turned toward the left leg. So in other words, my navel and my breastbone and my chin are kind of going in the same direction as that left knee, and the right knee is way out to the side there. Now, as you can place both hands on your left thigh. I find this kind of helpful because that helps me not to drift over to that right side. So I just place both hands here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that right knee and let it fall in. So in other words, let it fall forward, and then we're going to pull it back. So it's going to fall forward and back. Now, as it falls forward, you're just relaxing all the muscles in the leg. As it goes back, you need to engage the muscles in the outside of the hip and the outside of that thigh. So see if you can really engage those muscles strongly. And now you can roll on the side of your foot. As you come forward, you might have the flexibility in that leg so that you kind of roll on the side of the foot. If that works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Everybody's hip is a little bit different. The way the bone is kind of oriented into the socket is a little bit different. So just a couple more times here. And we're going to finish this by pulling the knee back behind us. So let's bring that knee back behind us. So once again, really engaging the muscles here in the outside of the thigh, the outside of the hip, and we're still got that focus of the chin and the breastbone and the navel kind of going in that direction to the left. Now imagine on this right side between your knee, if you take your arm, let's do it this way. So take your arm and just kind of hold it way up in this fashion, almost like you've got a big ball, a beach ball that's resting on that right thigh and you're just draping your arm over it, right? So feel the space. We're just going to breathe into the space on this right side, the space between the ribs. And the space between the lower part of the rib cage and the hip bone there. Okay, so we're still engaging the muscles in the outside of that hip and we're pulling that knee back and we're going to be bending to the right, but I want you to maintain this, this sort of concept of having a beach ball over here. So we're going to go up and over and keep as much space on this right side as you possibly can, letting the forearm or the wrist or even the hand rest on that right thigh. We're going to take the left arm up overhead, go as far to the right as you can, and then we're going to bring it all the way back to the left. So we're staying bent in that right position, so don't lift your body up. We're just moving that left arm, right? So the body stays stationary. Excellent. Just 2 more times. Now, if your arm doesn't go way up, that's okay. Sweep it in front. That works too, right? So 2 more times. Breathing in and breathing out, as long as the breath is round and smooth, doesn't matter when you inhale, doesn't matter when you exhale. Good. Okay, and then we're just going to come all the way up. Let's extend that right leg. So really walk it out there if you can, extending that knee, so straightening that knee, that's what extends your leg, and press the back of your knee toward the floor, right? So I'm trying to eliminate this bend here in my knee, so I'm going to press the back of the knee toward the floor, and as I do that, what I notice is that these muscles right here in the top of the thigh, they cross over the top of the knee. These are the muscles that have to get really strong in order to facilitate that pulling that back of the knee toward the floor. Now keep your toes lifted toward the ceiling. That is another way to make sure you're activating those leg muscles as best you can. So breathing in and breathing out, what's your orientation? Are you twisted into that right side, or are you still oriented toward that left side? So we're going to take that right hand, bring it down somewhere on the thigh, and then slowly we're going to lean into that right side. Now, as you do, don't let this left shoulder come forward. We're going to keep the left shoulder open and slide that hand down the leg as far as it will go, and then come all the way back up. So that's it. So we're bending from the side of the waist. So what we should be feeling is on that left side, somewhere between the hip and the underarm, we should be feeling a bit of a stretch here. Right? Breathing in, breathing out. If you're not feeling a stretch there, but you're feeling a little pull in your back, you're probably twisting like this. So let's see if we can keep that left shoulder open. And one more time, we're going to do this. Coming all the way over. Good. And all the way back. Great. Now, keeping that right leg extended, can you point your toes? In other words, can you try to get your toes down on the floor? Some people are going to be able to touch the toes to the floor. Other people just going to have the foot kind of going in that direction. Again, some of this has to do with the muscles and the tissue and how tight or flexible your leg is. But another piece of this is also the orientation of your bones at your ankle. So some of us have a little less space between the lower leg bones and the ankle, or the foot rather, which is what comprises the ankle. Some of us have a little bit more space there. So if you don't get your toes on the floor, it's okay. So we're going to keep that leg extended, keep the toes pointing, so on the floor or toward the floor. Take your left hand to the chair. Now, have you drifted back to that right? We're going to come right back to the left. And now we're going to lean into that left side. So bend your left elbow, lean into the left side. Don't bend your right knee, and then come all the way back up. So we're going to do this a few times. Breathing in and breathing out. So now we're stretching through that right side of the body, the waist, the ribs, the hip. Good. If it feels comfortable this morning, take your right arm as you lean to the left, bring that right arm up, and then bring it all the way back down. If you'd rather not use the arm, that's absolutely fine. You can do this movement without engaging the arm. Good, just a couple more. Breathing in, breathing out. All right, let's do last one. So really reach out through that arm and come all the way back. Great job, you guys. Now let's bend that right knee a little bit and then use the heel and the toes. We're gonna walk that foot back and see if you can come all the way back to center and go right over to that left side. So here we are. Left cheek is kind of hanging out on the side of that chair. Right foot is on the floor. So you want to make sure you get as much of your foot on the floor. That just helps with stability here. And then we're going to use the heel and the toes of this left foot and walk that foot out. So you're keeping the integrity of your knee. If you can have 90 degrees at your knee, meaning your ankle would be directly below your knee, that's great. If that doesn't work for you, if you need a little bit more, that's fine. You just don't want to have left. So you don't want to have that heel in too close to the chair. That just puts a little more strain on the knee joint. And we don't really need to do that for this exercise. Sometimes we do need to strain that knee joint in a therapeutic way, in a controlled way, but this is not one of those times. So notice now, have you started to drift your upper body to the left? See if you can pull back to the right. Okay, and we're just gonna let this knee come in and out, and in and out. So when the knee comes forward, we're relaxing all the muscles in the leg and the hip. And when we pull the knee back toward the wall behind us, we're engaging the muscles in the outer thigh and in the outside of that hip a little bit here, right? So breathe in, breathe out. Now your knee might come forward a lot, or it might come forward just a little bit. Again, a lot of this has to do with how your hip is oriented. You know, it can be the construction of your hip from the very beginning. So from when you were a child, it could have something to do with the position of the bone, leg bone in your hip socket now, if you've got some arthritis in there. So there's so many things that can contribute to how much we move or can't move that leg. Now, the next time that you pull your knee toward the wall behind you, I'm going to ask you to stay there, kind of maintain the integrity of the muscle contraction here and outside of that left hip and the outside of the thigh. Notice if you've started to drift to the left, we're going to pull that back to the right. And then we're going to take that left arm, so kind of like a big beach ball, right? So you got the beach ball resting here on this left thigh, and we're up and over that beach ball. So we're getting a little bit of a stretch in through that right armpit, in through the ribs, and through the side of the waist. Breathe in, breathe out, and see if you can open up a little more space through this side of the body just by breathing in and breathing out. If it's all happening way up here in your shoulder top, relax the shoulder top. So this is really about the arm being up. Good. And relax the hand and fingers. Okay, now maintaining the concept of this beach ball here, we're gonna lean up and over that left side. And you can rest your hand on your thigh, or you can rest your elbow, or you can rest your wrist or your forearm here. Breathing in and breathing out. And we're going to take that right arm up and overhead if that's possible, and then all the way down. So let your breath be smooth and steady. Now, if raising the arm up overhead is a little bit more challenge than you'd like this morning, you can take that arm forward. We're kind of doing the same thing. So we're just trying to get a little more space in through that right side and in through the left side. So if you feel like you're compressed on that left side, you might come up a little bit higher, maybe onto your hands. So remember that beach ball, right? So you want to have that feeling of that beach ball over there. Good. Great, one more time. And last one. Excellent. And then we'll bring that hand down and come all the way upright. We're going to take that left leg, extend it out. So the heel is on the floor and you're pressing the back of your left knee down toward the floor. Now, as you do this, you want to raise your toes toward the ceiling and you should feel something happening right here in these thigh muscles. So in order for me to press the back of my knee toward the floor, I need to engage these muscles here, right? So I'm going to notice, am I drifting here to the left? I'm going to check myself and come right back to that right side. So my chin, my breastbone, my navel kind of going in the same line as that right knee. And now we're going to take the left arm and just kind of place it on the thigh somewhere. And as you breathe in and out, we're going to just lean to that left side, let the hand drift down as far as it'll go, and then come all the way up. Watch that the right shoulder doesn't roll forward. So you want to keep that right shoulder back a little bit here, right? So I can get way down toward my foot if I roll that shoulder forward, but can you see this is not flexing my spine? This is rotating my spine and compressing on that left side. Instead, I want to keep the shoulder open so I don't have compression on that side. And it's just a really gentle movement side to side. This is one of the movements, by the way, that we don't get a lot of in our daily lives, this sort of side bending in a controlled way. Sometimes we do a little side bending and we're not really conscious of it. And that can set us up for some issues or some difficulties. So just one more of these. These can be pretty challenging. So just one more of these. Great. And then we're going to relax that leg a little bit as we bring the toes down toward the floor. And once you've got your toes kind of reaching down toward the floor, activate those thigh muscles again. So make it nice and strong. So you're pulling your toes toward the floor, but you're also pulling the back of your knee toward the floor at the same time. Has your body started to drift to the left? Let's see if we can bring the body back to the right. Take your right hand to the chair, kind of in the same line, in the same plane as your right hip. And then we're going to bend that elbow and lean into the right side, but keep the toes toward the floor. And then we're going to come all the way up. So breathe in and breathe out. A couple things you can do here. This is one of those exercises I really like to engage my arm and shoulder muscles here. Now the side of my body is strong enough to lift myself up, but I can build some shoulder strength if I relax my body and push with this right arm. So it's like doing a little half push-up on this side, right? Breathe in, breathe out. Great. And if you'd like just to give ourselves a little bit more of a challenge here, as we lean over to the right, you can take your left arm up and over and then come all the way back down. If you're not, if your body does not want to do that at this point, you can just dispense with the arm and just lean into that right side, sorry. So the left arm can just kind of hang out a little bit. Really up to you. And by the way, if I didn't say this before, just because you do something on one side doesn't mean you have to do it on the other side, right? There's sometimes things that preclude us from doing that. Maybe it's something physical, maybe it's just you're too tired to do it. And that's okay too. Got to pay attention to our bodies. How about one more time here? So we're doing several of these movements. Great. Good job, everybody. Coming all the way back. Beautiful. And then we're going to relax that leg, relax that knee rather, and then use the toes and the heel. Walk that foot around. And as you do, you're going to come back to the center of your chair. And when you get to the center of your chair, once again, you're going to come right up to the front edge. Let your hands rest on your thighs. Let's take a breath in and out. Noticing your spine, noticing your back. I'm going to take the hands up in front. Let's round through the spine. So push like you're trying to push into the screen. Bring your chin down toward your navel. Breathe in, breathe out. And then sweep the arms down and behind you. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Arch your back. And then we're going to round through the back and arch through the back. So let's do this several times. Breathing in and breathing out. For me, when I round through my spine, breathing out feels really natural. And when I arch my back, breathing in feels natural. So notice what feels right for you. Is there a right way and a wrong way? No. It's the optimal way, whatever works best in your body. And the beautiful thing is we are all a little bit different. So what works for me might not work for you. And by the way, what works for me today sometimes won't work for me tomorrow. How about one more time? Arch, rounding and then arching. We'll finish with an arch. And then we'll go back to kind of that neutral spine. Beautiful. Kind of holding here for a moment, breathing in, breathing out. Okay. Take your feet a little bit wider than your hips. So look down, and for most of us, that's going to mean maybe about 12 to 18 inches between your big toes, right? So if you're a littler person, maybe 12 inches. If you're a little bit bigger person, maybe it's about 18 inches. So it's not like really wide apart. It's kind of just a little bit more depth here, a little bit more width here. Okay. So we're going to take the left arm, and we're going to reach across the body to the left. So we got the right arm reaching across the body to the left. Good. And now we're going to lean over to that side as if you could grab your left big toe and then come all the way up and bring that hand back to your thigh. Okay. Take your left arm, reach it across to the right. We're going to twist and lean over as if you could grab your right big toe. Now we're going to the outside of the leg as we do this, and then come all the way back. So really slow movement. So it's important to go slow as we do this, coming all the way down, because this is a complex movement for the spine, right? Make sure your spine is nice and long. When you lean over, don't just kind of fall into this. You want to keep your spine extended and lengthened. So a couple more times on each side, right? So the first thing we want to do is lead with the arm, taking the arm across the body and twisting the upper body first, and then coming down to the lower body. And the goal here, by the way, is not to grab your big toe, not to reach your big toe, but just to kind of go in that direction. So how about one more time on each side? Last time. Great, coming back to center. Let's press the palms forward, round through the spine, bring the chin to the chest, really round through your back. And as you inhale, we're gonna arch the back, bring the palms behind you. So it's like that beautiful maiden on the prow of the ship. All right, so we're going back and forth, breathing in and breathing out. This is a version of a yoga movement called the cat and cow. Some of you might know this, right? So you usually do this in a kneeling position on your hands and knees. I've not been able to get on my hands and knees for at least 4 months. So this is my cat and cow. This has been my cat and cow for a while now. So we can adapt all the yoga postures. If we can't quite get to how they're classically taught, there's many ways to adapt this. So a few more of these. This is a wonderful thing to do at the side of the bed before you get up in the morning. And last time. And I always like to finish on an extension because I don't get quite enough extension in my spine throughout the day, nor do most of us. So most of us, or most of the time, we have forces that are working on the body that keep us in flexion, which is this kind of forward bending. And oftentimes, I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. So if I'm in flexion, so there I am, I got to do this with my head. You can see my neck gets really short in the back. And if my neck is really short and I try and turn my head, oh, it's crunchy in there and really uncomfortable. So I'm going to work toward keeping my body a little bit more upright so that my head stays right on top of my shoulders as opposed to kind of coming forward. So that's just a little, just a little thing to notice throughout the week. So let's do this. Still right up at the front of your chair. I'm going to have you extend both legs, have your heels on the floor. So you want to be far enough forward that you don't feel like you're getting kind of cut off in the backs of your thighs and your hamstring muscles, but also not so far forward that you feel like you're in jeopardy of falling off your chair. have your heels on the floor and your toes reaching up toward your shins. And then let's really strongly activate these thigh muscles. These are your quadriceps muscles here in the tops of the thighs. There are 4 of them that come down, some from your hip and some from your leg. And what they do is they go right over the kneecaps and right into the lower part of your leg. That's what makes you straighten your leg. So we're really engaging these muscles. Pull your belly in and sit up really tall. Engage your buttocks muscles a little bit so you feel your bum kind of firm up a little bit. Breathe in, breathe out. And then we're going to take the arms forward. Press the palms away. Keep the back nice and tall and straight so we're not rounding through the spine this time. And then what we're going to do is, keeping the palms forward like this, we're going to pull back with the shoulder blades and press the chest forward. Don't lift your chin though. And breathe in and breathe out as you press forward and pull back. So as you're doing this, you're engaging the leg muscles, engaging the feet. And what I want you to focus on when you pull your elbows back, squeeze the space between your shoulder blades. And when you press the palms forward, let that space between your shoulder blades kind of round forward, right? So there's more space between the shoulder blades as you press forward and less space between the shoulder blades as you pull back. So all the effort here of moving your arms is coming from that place between your shoulder blades. Beautiful. How about 2 more of these? That's 1. And 2. And we're going to hold here with the elbows back. Breathe in, breathe out. And then relax everything. Bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor. Great. So if you'd like to make yourselves a little more comfortable, I'm going to do a little bit of a guided meditation here before we go. So you might sit back into your chair a bit. If that feels okay, if you'd rather stay seated forward, you can do that as well. Try to keep your feet on the floor. So in other words, try not to cross your legs. It's just energetically a little bit more available for us if we kind of keep the legs uncrossed. You can let your hands rest on your legs. You can let them rest kind of together in your lap if you want, whatever feels comfortable. And close your eyes. Let's take a breath in together and let it out with a sigh. And then fall into the natural rhythm of your breath. Just watch the way air moves in and out. You don't have to deepen your breathing. You don't have to do anything at all. You're just watching your breath. And once you feel that natural rhythm in your breathing, bring your attention to your physical body. Notice where you're in contact with the chair. Notice where you're in contact with the floor. Notice where you feel clothes on your skin. So if you've got on long pants or short pants, long sleeves or short sleeves. And notice where the skin doesn't have any clothing. So again, if you have short pants or short sleeves, notice the air as it moves across your skin. Notice if there's tightness in your muscles, your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. Those are the usual suspects. What about your hands and your feet? Those are the places we don't often notice where we're holding tension, or even your eyes. Notice around your eyes. Notice if your body feels heavy or light, if it's cool or warm. And now shift your awareness to what you can hear. So shift your attention to your hearing and notice, besides the sound of my voice, what else do you hear in your space right now? Do you hear any sounds of nature? Do you hear the normal sounds within your house, kind of what I call the heartbeat of the house? Are there outside noises, maybe traffic or lawnmowers or people? And what about your breathing? Can you notice a sound to your breathing? Maybe there's a sound there. Maybe there's a sound in your belly. Maybe your breakfast is digesting and you're hearing breakfast digesting sounds. And shifting your attention from sounds to what you see behind your closed eyes. Can you see images of thoughts? Do you see color or lightness or darkness? What you see behind your closed eyes, does it change and shift, or does it kind of go back to the same image over and over again? And then bring your attention away from what you see behind your closed eyes into what you taste in your mouth. Can you taste your breakfast? Maybe you had tea or coffee or something else to drink. Maybe you had gum or a mint. Maybe you brushed your teeth. There's always a taste in the mouth. Is it sweet or sour? Is it salty? Is it bitter? Is it a soft taste or a sharp taste? And now, leaving your sense of taste, notice what you smell. Breathing in and breathing out, what aromas are coming to you right now? Again, maybe it's food that you've cooked or eaten recently, tea or coffee. Maybe you cleaned your house recently and you can smell that clean smell, or maybe the windows are open, you can smell the outside, you can smell the rain. Just notice anything that you're able to smell right now. And now notice how you can feel what's going on in your body, where you are in space, whether you're hot or cold, if you're heavy or light. You can see behind the mind screen, behind the closed eyelids. You can hear sound. You can taste and smell. You can do all of these things simultaneously. And notice how you're aware of all of these inputs at the same time. It's almost like you're balancing all 5 of your senses equally and evenly. Notice how they work in harmony. And now take your right hand and place it at the center of your chest and cover your right hand with your left. Let's take a breath in together and let it out with a sigh. And perhaps bringing the hands together, Take a moment in gratitude to yourself for this day that we've been given, in gratitude for all the gifts that we've been given, those that we have worked hard for and achieved, and those things that have come to us naturally without our having to try. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.